Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas, another episode of Veterans in Politics. Today we have Stephanie Phillips. She is the founder and entrepreneur of Den Mothers.
Yes, sir.
Jim, do you have any rants?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, it's not so much a rant, but it is kind of a public service announcement. So this is something that's been weighing on me heavily. I'm not going to get too much into it because I don't want to drag on the show too much. But I've been dealing with a lot of internal medical issues, right? Mm-hmm. Well, most of those internal medical issues have to do with substance abuse. Mm-hmm. And so what I would like to talk to the viewers and listeners about, you don't know if you are an obsessive, compulsive person, that you're more susceptible to addiction. So you're better off just to avoid it altogether. Then you don't have to worry about it. Now, my dad always said that to me, and typical kid, whatever. You always blow your parents off. But I'm telling all of you guys honestly, you really need to pay attention to that. When you're young, just the two worst addictions are alcohol and cigarettes.
I thought sex was part of it, no?
Well, some people are addicted to sex, but sex is fun, though.
What about drugs? That's probably worse.
Well, no.
How about violence? Some people love to kick some ass.
Yeah. Well, the reason... okay, so specifically the reason why I'm bringing it up is because there's too many people in the world that don't believe that alcohol and cigarettes are drugs. Mm-hmm. And they are.
Didn't you used to call marijuana the gateway drug?
Yep.
You still feel the same way about that?
No, honestly, 18 years ago, I should have taken your advice and taken up marijuana and stopped beer and cigarettes. Probably be better off.
You probably would be. You probably be in a dispensary right now, owning one.
Right.
Because you're so loving it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I just want to make sure that people... I really wanted to bring that up, though, that so many people think, it's just a cigarette. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's just a beer. Well, it could become a lot more if your personality type is a certain way. Yeah. Certain people, like both of you guys don't have addictive personalities. Yeah. So
I do love a bone-in ribeye, medium rare.
Yeah, but love that.
I mean, I really, really love that.
but that's a good addiction.
Golden Stare, tasty.
Oh yeah.
So good.
Oh, I know. Golden Stare is awesome. I'll never forget when you and I went to Golden Stare.
Yeah.
Now, the Tomahawk Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Today's Tomahawk Tuesday.
Over there at Ahern. That's really good.
Yeah, I'll tell you the only thing I didn't like about Golden Stare is when you and I went. Mm-hmm. And I got the bill. I was like, but it was worth it.
It was worth it. Oh yeah,
that was good.
You drop a napkin and they'll catch it before it hits the ground. Service was real good.
Yeah, that was interesting. But no, I just wanted to bring that up to people. Don't just arbitrarily think, oh, it's just beer. Mm-hmm. It's just a cigarette. Trust me, it can lead to way worse things if you don't really know your personality type.
Yeah.
So, other than that, that's really all I wanted to say.
Miss Phillips?
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good.
Want to tell us about yourself?
Well, I've done that so many times. I'll just talk about my...
Den Mothers?
Yes, my Den Mothers. This is my logo. I started this a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And I've always wanted to have a nonprofit and take care of kids. I've been involved in children's charities for decades. And I always wanted to have my own. And so I started this, and we're getting ready to hand out some Christmas bags to some schools, these families that we support. And I'm excited to be able to do a show and talk about Den Mothers. Mm-hmm. However, this is your last show, and we're going to put you in the hot seat.
Okay.
So we're going to switch seats, and this show is going to be about you instead.
Switch
Surprise, surprise.
So we got to switch seats? Oh,
Yeah, you got to switch seats,
You're in
baby.
the hot seat, Jim.
You got to play the whole role, man. There we go.
Jim is leaving us and going to Wyoming.
You got your mic on?
Oh. Jim is leaving us. I'm going to Wyoming. I'm sure everybody heard that anyway.
So folks, Jim has been on this show since 2008.
Yep.
For the past 16 years, he has been on this show. This is a weekly show. So Jim and I have been talking every week for the past 16 years.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of times we do off camera conversations during that week too. So for the past, when you say you know somebody for 16 years, you see them every once in a while. They fly in from Chicago every Christmas. It's not like that with me and this guy. I mean, me and this guy talk to each other or see each other or both every single week for the past 16 years. That's an accomplishment.
No.
And I didn't even kick your ass one time.
You might have wanted to, but never did. Huh, Jim?
Yeah. You know what's funny is that one of the Veterans of Politics balls, Steve goes, and all the time I've known Jim, I've only gotten into 3 arguments with him. There's certain people that I argue with 3 times a day. Yeah, we always just
we always click. Don't
yeah.
And even if we disagree on something, and we've had a couple of disagreements. I mean, not really yelling match, but
right.
we had a couple of disagreements on things.
Yeah.
We always try to figure out how it'll be like a win-win.
Well, see, the one thing about you, Steve, that I really appreciate is you taught me a lot about, because when Steve and I first met, I was a hardcore Republican. Like, if you were a Democrat, I wouldn't even talk to you. I would literally ask you, are you Democrat, Republican? Well, I'm a Democrat. Okay, I just walk off.
Now you're more moderate in the middle because Steve.
So it was funny because, it was Joe Heck. Steve calls me up and he goes.
Former Congressman Joe Heck.
Yeah, former Congressman Joe Heck. So Steve calls me up and he goes, hey, who are you going to vote for? And I'm like, I'm going to vote for Joe Heck. And he goes, why? And I'm like, well, he's a Republican. And he goes, well, do you think he's going to do a good job? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to vote for him because he's a Republican. He goes, what do you think about him personally? I'm like, honestly, I think he's an asshole. And Steve goes, okay, so you're going to vote for him. What does that make you, Jim?
An asshole.
Oh my gosh.
We hold on just one second. Hold that thought 1 second, Ms. Phillips. We have interviewed so many people for the past 16 years when you came on. We have interviewed so many.
Yeah, I would like to. I wish we even had a count because it's got to be well over
thousands.
Oh, it's thousands.
Sometimes we had 2 or 3 shows in 1 week.
Yeah. No.
Sorry, Ms. Phillips.
I was going to ask how many. You guys should count up how many you've done. That's amazing.
Oh my God. We first started. I remember. We were at the first show I was doing. Face the Tribune with Rolando Loraz.
Yep.
Rolando Loraz, rest in peace. Rolando Pearly. Hi, Rolando's sister. It was Face the Tribune. Started out in 2005. It was Face the Tribune. And Face the Tribune and the owner of All Talk Radio at the time over there it was on Rainbow and Vegas Drive was the first show.
Huh.
It was Rainbow and Vegas Drive.
Yeah.
When All Talk was over there.
Yeah.
And Rolando and George Carson, the owner of All Talk, got into it. And you know how Rolando is. It's Cuban.
Yeah.
Machismo. And George is like, I don't need this shit. And, you know, and they got into it and they left. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, okay. Then George goes, hey, you want to have your own show? And I'm like, yeah, I do. Because I remember last year, this was 2005. I remember last year in 2004, Mayor Goodman, Oscar Goodman, said to me, stay in the media.
Stay in the media.
Stay alive.
Stay alive. Yep.
And I'm like, man, I wonder how this universe is working. Yeah, I'll have my own show. He goes, what you going to call it? I'm going to call it Veterans in Politics. That's what we're going to do. Veterans in Politics talk show. And then it started out in 2005. And then we moved down to Sahara and Jones.
Yep.
Still with All Talk. Still with George Carson.
Yeah.
And then I took on, my co-host at the time was Sage Bocook.
Yep.
Oh, she crazy now. Huh?
Dude,
She crazy.
well, yeah, she ended up moving to Kuwait and
she crazy.
You have
She-
a couple of your
she turned
co-hosts that were
Muslim.
crazy.
She turned Muslim. She crazy.
Yeah.
So we did it for
Sage was an interesting.
yeah,
one
we
at the
did
time.
it for a minute. It was female. I had my first co-host was female. I figured it was a female male thing we could do, yeah. And then she left, and then I was like, oh man, who am I gonna get? So then I got Rhonda.
Gibson.
No, Rhonda.
Oh,
Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Your favorite.
And Rhonda used to get into it with the guests. Oh my goodness. Sometimes I was like scared for them.
Right.
She used to get into it. And we used to go to this bar. I remember, I don't drink now, folks, by the way. We used to go to this bar, right? And then we used to come on the show and we both be a little tipsy.
Right.
And we used to bet, see who's gonna walk off the show. Right. And one time we almost had Bobby Grunow walk off. Well, we really tore into him. He was a constable of Las Vegas at the time. We really tore into him. And then Rhonda left, and then you're like, Steve, this is 2008 now.
Yeah.
So we're in 2008. I remember when we first interviewed you, you ran for Clark County chair.
Yep.
And it was Dave McGowan and Richard Scotty.
Yep.
Right? And then you came on the show, we did an interview, and I called you a mama's boy, and you got all pissy at me.
Yeah. Well, okay.
And now look at you.
So here's the thing. So Steve calls me up and he goes, okay, so here's the deal. I'm going to go after Dave McGowan really hard because the county never backed your boy.
Who?
What the heck is his name now?
Who's my boy?
He kept running for CD.
Oh, Kenneth Wagner.
Yeah.
Yes.
He kept running for CD1 and the county party would never support him. Mm-hmm. And Dave McGowan was the political director. So Steve didn't care for Dave McGowan very much because of that. So he calls me up. He calls me up before the interview and he goes, Jim, I'm telling you right now, we're gonna go super hard. Whatever you do, keep your cool. Don't storm off. Just keep your cool. So I'm like, all right. And that was fine because basically you were going after Dave way harder than me. Mm-hmm. So I'm like just sitting there and I'm like, okay, Steve said that. Just be quiet, just be quiet, just be quiet. So then Steve looks at me and he goes, Jim, as a matter of fact, don't you live with your mom?
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, well, actually, my mom lives with me. I'm taking care of my mom. You can't even handle your own finances? And we're going to turn over the county party to you?
Poor Jim.
We're not going to elect a freaking mama's boy.
Oh my God.
And I'm just sitting there and I'm looking at Steve going, I thought we were boys.
It took you all this time to be boys.
I'm freaking McGowan. Some of the stuff he said to Dave McGowan, man, I was like, and Dave took it all though.
Yeah, he did.
Dave was a soldier through that stuff, man. Because that was a brutal interview. You guys were not nice.
Yeah. And then while we were there, so Rhonda left, went to move to California.
Yeah.
And then you're like, so I said, Jim, I'm looking for a co-host. And you're like, what about me?
Yeah.
I could be a co-host.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you. Yeah.
That's
you. Let me be the co-host.
We met and had lunch. This is when I was working at Bloomingdale's at the time in the Fashion Show Mall, when they just had the home store, right? And that ended up going belly up. But so Steve's like, yeah, let's meet for lunch. And there was a pizza place right outside there. So we went. Steve's like, yeah, I got an opportunity for you. You're interested in politics. Why don't you be my co-host? And Steve was pretty direct. He goes, I need somebody that's more like on the policy side of it. You can say whatever you want. You can ask any question you want. I'm never going to monitor that. But you seem to have a good understanding for political policy, and the show could use that. Because Steve was like, I'll be honest with you, I'm more of the asshole. I'm more of the guy that's going to ask the really brutal questions. All I need you to do is follow up and go like, okay, so when was this policy enacted? And just be a little more technical about it. And it worked out good.
What was your most memorable candidate or interview, or can you remember? Or somebody that was just so inept, wasn't qualified, just blew you away?
I forget his name. It wasn't that long ago.
The one that walked out?
Yeah. That was the
guy that ever walked out.
Yeah, that was the stupidest person I've ever met.
That was the pay your bill guy. Remember?
Yeah, Ronald Billadu.
Yeah, right.
Billadu.
I'm like, look.
And we did have a co-host that walked off the show.
Right.
Your brother.
My brother.
Your brother walked off the show.
He flipped out on this guy.
Oh my God.
And Steve was like, I had to leave because I was going to beat the hell out of him.
Your brother got up and walked off the show.
Oh my gosh.
And
Is that right, Mark? Mark was there.
It's like, so I'm at work, right? I was closing that night. So I'm texting Steve. I'm like, hey, but my brother Steve, right? So I'm texting him. I'm like, how's it going? Oh, not that well. This guy's really pissing me off. I'm like, well, just have Steve remove him. Mm-hmm. I said, but whatever you do, and this is exactly what I texted my brother Steve, whatever you do not storm off the set. That's the last thing
so much
you
for
can do.
that advice.
Literally 2 minutes later, boop.
Oh my God.
I'm just like, dude, you always have to keep your cool.
So I'm just trying to paint a picture how we progressed, right?
Right. Yeah.
So we were at the Sahara and Jones,
Mm-hmm.
and then we went to Maryland Parkway and DI.
And DI.
We went to KLAV.
KLIV.
All Talk Radio. No, it wasn't All Talk. We left All Talk Radio. We went to Vegas All Net.
Vegas All Net.
Right. We went to Vegas All Net with Robin Givens.
Yeah.
We went there because what's his name talked us, and it was a Democratic chairman. Of the Clark County Democratic chairman was doing some type of radio stuff, and he talked us into going down there. So we went down there, Vegas All Net Radio, and when we were at Vegas All Net Radio, we were doing the show down there, and then I got offered a show with Mike Wiley.
Yep,
Mike Wiley, and it was something dealing with Ion, Nevada. Right, Ion, Nevada, and that's when I had Sheriff Doug Gillespie. Mm-hmm. On the show, and I asked him if he ever hit his wife.
That's classic.
Yeah, on the live radio show. It wasn't the internet this time. It was radio.
Answer that?
Huh?
How do you answer that?
He goes, no, it never happened. And then after the show, he whispered in my ear, and he goes, I don't know where you get your information from, but it did. Yeah. So,
well, which sheriff was it that we interviewed that his undersheriff came on? Remember that? But that's when we were at.
Ted Moody.
Oh, okay.
Running for sheriff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they came on. Dave walked in, and they were strapped.
We had a lot of people strapped on our show.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes our show was the safest place to be in the neighborhood.
Remember when we had Lombardo scheduled 2 times to come on, and he didn't
come on.
Yeah.
He got scared because he doesn't know what the question's going to be.
Right.
This was before he was elected to be governor.
So we went from Maryland Parkway and DI to Sahara. And Rainbow or Torrey Pines, right? Torrey Pines across from that dog place. What it called? A restaurant.
Yeah.
So we went there, and we're still with Vegas All Net Radio, and we're still with KLAV, and then KLAV offered me to do a show on their radio,
right?
That we call that one Eye of Nevada Politics.
Eye of Nevada Politics. Yeah, I remember the first time I went on that show.
Well, hold on. They gave me a show for a year.
Yeah.
Radio show free for a year because it was so much. They wanted to be all involved in politics for a year. Remember that? That was so cool.
I'll never forget the first time. So Steve's like, "Hey, do you want to come on that show?" And I'm like, "Well, of course." And so Andre's sitting right behind me, and Andre's like, "Remember, this is FCC regulated. You can't curse, Jim." And I think that's kind of where we started that trend where both of us really try, even though we're not FCC regulated right now.
Yeah.
We really try not to curse.
Yeah.
As much as possible.
It was a hard thing back in those days.
Try.
Yeah. We were both drinkers.
Yeah. Yeah. We'd show up and be like, who is this effing guy?
But you know what? We also had a lot of co-hosts. We had Cindy Lake for a while. We have Janet Rangland for a while. We had female co-hosts all the way.
Janet Rangland. We had Lily Babcock.
For a while.
That was my favorite, by the way. You know that.
Yeah. We're not going to tell him why that was his favorite.
Well, that was my favorite. She didn't, for whatever reason, she just didn't really care for me much, but she liked talking to me, but I wanted to do more than talk, obviously. I'm a guy. And
he wanted to have a sandwich with her.
Yeah. Right.
Make me a sandwich.
Make me a sandwich. So then we left Vegas All Net Radio because Vegas All Net Radio was being sold, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right. And we tried to buy Vegas. We were trying to buy Vegas All Net Radio. We were trying to buy it. We were in love with the whole concept of radio and journalism and talk show but being on the talk show, you get to know your community. You get to know who's in politics. You get to know what they do. Mm-hmm. And many of times we knew more about the job than the person that's actually elected to do it.
Well, and then to give a further example, to your credit specifically, we bought that house.
We're not even there yet.
Okay,
we're not even there yet, Jim.
Go ahead, Jim.
Jim,
So,
we're not even at that. We're not there yet because we left because we couldn't buy Vegas All Net.
No,
It was too much, and then the rent was high and all that. We couldn't even afford the studio in Jones, where your office is. That's where we were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me that.
So we left there, and then we went to we found George Carson again.
Mm-hmm.
So we went up being on his show. It wasn't all talk radio anymore. It was all broadcast, media,
right? Yeah,
some fancy deal.
Now, was that the one way out on Russell?
Russell and Decatur, not too far from Rhythm Kitchen. Remember that place?
Right.
We got some stories about Rhythm Kitchen.
Yeah,
we were there for a minute. We wasn't there that long.
No, not very long.
And then George took us down to the Thunderbird Hotel on Las Vegas Boulevard. So we went with him down there, and we were doing a show down there. And then his mother pissed me off.
Oh, yeah.
Took one of my shows off the air because an attorney threatened her. One of our shows.
Yeah.
Without even consulting us. And I'm like, F this. I don't want nothing to do with you guys anymore, right?
Yeah.
And then what happened to us? Oh, I know what happened to us, Jim. We ran into John Stiles.
Yep.
And we did the what was his radio station called?
I forget what it was.
And he used to be at KLAV.
Yeah, he was at KLAV.
And then we moved down to Desert Shores over there on
that was a nice
that
studio,
Smoke
too.
Ranch. Was it Smoke Ranch?
That was done by Heidi.
Durango?
That was done by Heidi's studio. Right?
Yeah.
Or office
over there in
right.
Desert Shore. It wasn't too far away.
No.
So we were there a minute, and then we had Mike Edwards was our co-host.
Yeah, Mike.
Pirate
Edwards.
Mike, Marine. Did 2 tours in Iraq. Also was the president of the Banditos motorcycle club at the time.
Oh.
And then we brought in what's her name? Christina Ortiz.
Yep. Oh,
as a
Jesus Christ. Sorry. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I should not have cursed, but whoa.
Is that Agent Orange? No.
Well, yeah. Here's
her hair is red.
Here's Agent Orange.
No.
Okay, so here's the most ridiculous part about it. I'm not going to put her in too much blast because it's not fair. She's not here to defend herself. But I remember I was talking with Steve, and I was like, Steve, we have to get rid of this chick. Like, something is seriously not right here. So Steve's like, all right, well, if that's the way you feel. So we got rid of her. Then we brought her back. Then I ended up dating her.
Oh, my gosh.
It's like, I'm talking to Steve about it, and Steve is like, you can't stand her. I'm like, well, you know.
How many of your co-hosts or candidates or people you interviewed did you date? Remember?
Actually dated? None.
None.
No.
He was just friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just always trying to be like, I just wanted to, my whole goal behind this whole show and my purpose for being on it is to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think you learn more when you just have a conversation.
Yeah.
When you start really like hammering people down the specifics, I usually let Steve do that. Like, okay, so what are you going to do about this policy? What BDRs are you going to?
People didn't even know what BDR is.
Yeah.
We could tell Ron Belladue didn't.
Belladue did not. Senate District 18. Yeah.
So
Thank you, John Steinbeck, for winning. That was great.
I would let Steve do more of that. I would do more of. I always tried to do more of the historical stuff because I was my minor is actually in political science. So I was always really fascinated in learning about these bills and like what president enacted this and what congressperson enacted this and how many congress people there are and more of the technical.
Yeah, end. Jim was more on the national and he was always used to berate Barack Obama. And I'm like, Jim, right. I said, why don't we just concentrate on what's going on in our community right here? I mean, Washington, D.C. is 3,000 miles away. You probably will never see Barack Obama. Yeah. But you're going to see these judges all the time.
Yeah.
Let's focus on our community and what's going on right here, people that we could actually impact and touch.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
No, that is 100% of what you... So it was interesting. So touching on my uncle, because he's very politically active and wanted to be politically involved and stuff. And he lives in Wyoming, obviously. So he's talking to me. And I'm like, do you know the city manager? He goes, nope. You better find out. Know the city manager? Mm-hmm. Know your city council people? Mm-hmm. Know the mayor? Mm-hmm. Know all the judges? Mm-hmm. That's how you're going to actually be able to impact
change.
Yep.
So we left by Desert Shores, and we went down. We're still with John Stiles now.
Yep.
And we went down to
your BFF.
Yeah, it's a long story. And we went down to Maryland Parkway in East Sahara. follow him down to that studio down there.
Yeah.
And then we picked up Lena Ocasio
Yeah.
as our extra co-host.
Yeah. She was a good co-host, though.
Yeah, she was a good girl. She was a
I
good
mean,
girl.
she was very attractive,
Mhm.
which is obviously I liked. The only thing I didn't...
It always helps.
Yeah, right. The only thing I didn't like is like I would say something and she'd go, well, Jim, I can't agree more. The thing I liked about Lily is Lily would just look at me and go, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. She would argue with me. And I liked that back and forth.
We had Janet Ranglin too. Did I mention
yeah.
that?
Janet was me and her didn't get along that well. She was a nice lady.
Yeah.
Nurse.
Yeah.
She's a neonatal nurse.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. She's smart. Smart. So we're there for a minute until John Stiles decided to betray me.
Yeah.
Put on a competing show like Veterans in Politics an hour before my show, and then pull one of her co-hosts. What's her name? The blonde chick.
Oh,
come on.
I know.
Come on. Because I forget her name.
Mantis.
Pulled her. We had her too as our co-host. Pulled her. She didn't say nothing to us.
No.
He didn't even come and ask us. You can pull one of her people. At least give us the common courtesy.
It was,
hey,
it was WTF America.
Yeah. And have a competing show talking about politics. He didn't know nothing about politics until we came on and started doing shows because he was all about sports and stuff, right?
That's all we did.
Yeah, and all of a sudden now
him and
he
Ricky
wants
Cheese
to be, now he wants to be in politics all of a sudden because of us, because he saw what we were doing. We're pulling people, we're getting people, and then so I'm like, F this dude. I don't want nothing to do with that dude. That's right, John Stiles. Nothing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm like, Jim, we need to start doing our own shit, man. Yeah. We need to get rid of this middleman shit. We need to do it. And then that's when we bought the house.
Yep.
That's when we went into business and bought that house. We rezoned it, turned it into a professional office.
See, and that's how I really, truly learned.
And then we brought Mark in to the mix.
Yeah. That's how I really, truly learned how important local politics was. Because, so my brother Steve was staying at the house just so we could have somebody occupy it because Steve and I were still. Yeah, and we were still working on it and stuff. So, and all of a sudden, Steve's like, walks in the backyard and he goes, I don't like this power pole here. I'm going to get this power pole moved. And so a guy comes over and like my brother Steve was there and he goes, who do you guys know? The city council. Well, it was Stavros.
Yeah, Stavros in.
Yeah. Yeah, like all of a sudden, like 2 weeks later, you got the freaking, all the Cox trucks show up. They run the lines under the ground. And Nevada Power shows up, moves the whole pole.
You gotta say the real story about this power pole. So, Stephanie, the power pole that was right in the middle of our backyard. It was right there. You can't do nothing. You can't even have a barbecue. Right. And then you got all these power lines coming across. It looked like, man, you're gonna get shocked on a windy day. It was just right there. So I'm like, that's our land. What the hell they're doing? So I call up NV Energy. I'm like, what the hell is this? Oh, we have it's grandfather. Then we have what's that thing called?
Easement. Yeah.
It was from 1962.
Yeah, for $1.
For $1.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, we're the new owners
Should
now.
be charging
this
rent.
This is not 1962. This is what year was this, Jim? 2020 was right.
2020.
Right after COVID.
It was right after
COVID.
COVID.
We got the house 2019 and 2020. And I'm like, okay, so I'm reading this easement and it says for electricity purpose. And I'm like, CenturyLink is on there. There was no phones back in 1962. There was no CenturyLink. Cox Cable is on there. Yeah. There was no cable back in 1962. So I'm like, NV Energy. So what's going on with this power pole? I'm like, who's paying rent to you? And they go, oh yeah, Cox is paying rent to us. CenturyLink is paying rent to us. and they had somebody else on that power pole. They're all paying rent to NV Energy while that pole is on where? Our effing property. And we still had a Cox bill. We still had a CenturyLink bill. We still had a power bill. And I'm like, who's getting screwed here? We didn't even get a reach around. Everybody's screwing us, and we can't even get to screw them back.
Wasn't AT&T or one of the cell phones?
They were on too. So I'm like, so we were talking to Councilman Stavros Anthony, and it was a group email, and I'm like, look here, look at all these power poles all across Southern Nevada. I said, what happens if we go and we tell everybody about what you guys are doing? That you got all these people, all these companies on this power pole on your land, on your property, that they're getting rent to NV Energy. That's why NV Energy got so much damn money, because everybody's paying NV Energy. And NV Energy just take your land and for free. So
that's why they didn't say anything and just gladly moved it.
They came and moved that damn power pole, huh, Jim? That power pole was all the way in the corner.
Anybody to know about that?
Maybe not after today.
Anybody with a power pole in your yard, take note.
Remember that expensive place that Rana was at?
It was Nora's.
Yeah, because I was working. I was working for Ron, and all of a sudden I get this text message, and it's all these pictures from Steve getting shit done. I'm just like,
there was crane there. Everywhere. Do you know what they had to do to move that pole? First, they had to do an inspection. Then they had cranes there. Then Cox had to come take their crap off the pole. All these other companies had to come take their crap down off the pole. So we were down for a minute, right?
Yeah.
And the electricity was out in some of the buildings, right? Yeah. And it cost them over $100,000 to move that one pole. And I'm like, you're not going to put that same pole up. Yeah. Look at it. It's all dry rotted. Right. So they put up a brand new pole. Yeah. They put up brand new electrical stuff. Yeah. Cox put up brand new stuff. CenturyLink put up brand new stuff. AT&T put up brand new stuff. And I'm like, oh, man, we doing it.
Yeah.
We doing it.
Yeah, that was...
Who gets NV Energy to remove a pole?
Nobody. That's just in politics.
That's why I'm just like... So that's why Van Miller is like, that's Steve Sampson's a force of nature. Like, how does that actually happen? I'm like, I don't know.
Let's talk about knocking down one house down that had all those vagrants in there.
Good grief.
With Brian Knudsen. Brian Knudsen, hell of a city councilman.
Yeah, he's a good city councilman.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Stavros.
Yeah, that was freaking crazy. So Steve was like, well, what happened one day was I just get this phone call from Steve. And I'm like, hey, Steve, what's up? He goes, come over to the Monticello house right now. And I'm like, I'm busy. I'm not at home. I don't care. Get over here right now. So the guy that owned the empty lot next to us was trying to lease the land.
Oh, you're talking about that other one.
Yeah, Southwest Gas. So these idiots are trying to move their tractors and stuff onto the property. Well, they take out half of the fence.
Mm-hmm.
Our fence.
Yeah, our fence.
That too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Steve was like, you need to get over here right now. And so Andre was there, and I'm like, so the guy comes up and goes, well, who are you? And Andre's like, oh, I'm security. I'm like, oh, shit.
But Andre goes,
thank God Andre was there.
Andre goes, I'm here to protect you from him. That was
all those tractors promptly moved. What, the next day?
No, they didn't even get on there because
that's right. You were parked.
So what happened was, so the guy that owned the empty lot, it was still residential. It wasn't commercial, and he was having all these heavy equipment park on that empty lot, and they were contracting for Southwest Gas to lay some pipes down. And they knocked over the fence, and nobody wanted to take responsibility. They were acting like it was already there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, now they insulted my intelligence, right? So now I'm pissed, right? So they had this gate that they had to come through, but on the sidewalk, it was no, what you call it?
It was no like red paint or anything.
Yeah, it was not red painted. There was no parking sign. It wasn't a driveway. They had to pop up on the sidewalk to get onto that dirt lot, right? So I parked there, and bulldozers were parked down the street.
Jesus.
So the supervisor of so I told one of the bulldozer guys, I'm like, I'm moving. So he goes, I'm gonna call my supervisor. The supervisor guy comes. He shows up, and remember?
Yeah.
He shows up and he goes, well, I don't know about that fence. Everybody's trying to play dumb. Right. And I hate that when people try to play dumb with me. So he's trying to play dumb, and he goes, well, you need to move your vehicle so we could get our equipment in. I'm like, I'm not moving the vehicle. So what do? They call the constable. Yeah. Constable shows up, and this guy popping up his chest.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you need to move the vehicle. And that even irritated me even more.
He came up behind us, and I'm looking in at Steve's rearview mirror, and I'm like, oh, we're going to jail.
So I would move my vehicle. I'm like, somebody need to pay for my fence, or I need to tell me about this insurance, or what have you. But nobody was doing that. So constable goes, well, I'm going to call the cops. Oh, I'm scared. I'm just trembling in my boots here. So 2 rookie cops show up. They go, hey, you're going to have to move the vehicle. Oh. And I'm like, I'm not moving my vehicle. I said, this is a sidewalk area. It's a designated parking area. There is no red zone here. It's not a loading zone. No. It's not a fire zone. There is no parking signs. I'm not moving the vehicle. And then Jim goes, you going to go to jail for this? I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to go to jail.
And it was, what was funny is the can't remember if it was the second cop or the third cop that showed up. And so Steve gets out, introduces himself, like, hey, Steve Sensen, shakes his hand. Everything was all nice and polite. First thing the cop says, oh, just want to let you know I got my body cam on. And Steve's like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. He goes, now who the hell is going to fix my fence?
Yeah. So anyways, the rookie cops goes, 2 of them, oh, we're going to call our supervisor. Supervisor shows up, sergeant, it's all stripes. He goes, so we tell him what's going on. Yeah. He goes back over there, and he comes back. He goes, you're legally parked. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He goes, you're legally parked. Mm-hmm. So I said, you know what? Not only are we legally parked, they're illegally putting heavy equipment on that lot. I said, that's a residential lot, not a commercial, for one. Number 2, there's no asphalt there. Yeah. So all that hydraulic fluid is seeping into the ground. I said, we need to get OSHA over here. So I called up OSHA, and I called up
that poor guy got his ass fined so bad.
I called up the city code enforcement, and they were all over there too, and they're all taking their notes, and they find the guy that owns that lot, and all of a sudden, all these bulldozers never came back again.
Nope.
And I got the insurance company, and when Artistic Fence came and gave us an estimate, he goes, you want your military discount? I'm like, hell no, I don't want my military discount. I want you to charge me as much as you're going to charge me to fix this fence, because we're not paying for it.
Yeah, that was one of the, jeez.
This is the first time I didn't utilize my military discount.
Yeah.
First
time. That took a long time for them to get. I remember that.
That fence cost them $6,000, and we should have had them go all the way.
We should, we kind of messed up on that one. Yeah. We should have had them go all the way on that one, but well, anyway.
So Jim,
and now here we are.
At
this location.
This location.
Yeah.
So we sold that building. Victor, I hope you like it. We sold.
Thank you, Victor.
Right. We sold that building to a denture. He makes dentures.
Yeah.
We sold it to him, and thank you for helping us with that endeavor.
Yes.
You're welcome.
And
much appreciated.
Yeah, and then we came here, and here we are. Yeah. But we had a long ride.
Yeah, we did. And you never know. I'll probably be back again.
You probably gonna come back?
Never know.
Never know. You never know what the future holds.
Yeah, I never say never. Right. I just wish some of this health stuff wouldn't happen, because I'd probably I'd be better shape. But
so let me ask you something. From the first time we started, well, when you came on board 16 years ago, do you think that this show, this program, has educated you to know who is who and who does what and who does wrong and who does right? Do Do you think you have more sense of purpose,
Oh.
more sense of community
Yeah.
doing this show?
Oh, 1,000%. That's one of the reasons why when I talked to people when I was back in Wyoming, I'm like, these are the people you need to get to know. Because these are the actual decision makers. These are the ones that like, oh, this show is, I've grown leaps and bounds.
It's a whole college experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
We don't get a
And it's
degree,
fun.
though. We need a
It's fun.
degree.
Right.
This is like political science
Right.
on crack.
Right. Well, that's the thing, too, is you get to...
Political science on crack. Yeah.
Well, and it's one of those things, too, is because when you get people on the show and you interview them, right, then you get to know them, and you're like, you can call that person up and be like, hey, this and this happened.
Yeah.
Can you help me with this? And so you have a personal rapport with them.
So some of these candidates that ran for different positions, some of them I became friends with.
Yeah.
There's some that I've even still have a relationship with. Remember Dr. Lynn Kahn,
Yeah.
who ran as an independent candidate for United States president. I mean, and she doesn't even live here.
Right.
Do you remember that one guy, that one presidential candidate that came to the Marine Corps League? We put on a thing for him, and he had a heart attack just before he took the stage. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was the craziest thing.
Ambulance came. I went to the ER with him. He was from Chicago, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. It was. I mean, we have had a long ride, Jim Jonas.
And that was crazy. I think the craziest interview I ever remember is when you're like, oh, we got Senate candidates coming from California. And I'm like, why? And Steve's like, well, it'd be good to get to know him. Is he going to be a senator?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, but I'm not exactly sure why I should be worried about someone who's running for Senate in California, but
They vote for the entire nation.
yeah, they do.
We even had litigants coming from Jersey. Remember that one time?
Yep.
That little girl that came up here was talking about what the corruption in family court in Jersey.
Oh, jeez.
And then the ones that don't know they're supposed to be here in person and they're in the state. They got to cancel last minute.
Remember, we did a phone interview with Lita Ford.
Oh yeah.
You got
I was on the plane that day. Was it Lita Ford?
Yeah,
the country singer.
Yeah.
The rock and roll singer.
Yeah, the one that used to date Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
And you guys got a reward, award. You guys were at the same
Family
award.
Court. I got one for community service at Family Court.
Yeah.
She got one for something else.
Yeah.
At the Hard Rock. We got that. The Hard Rock is where I met her. Yeah.
Yeah. That was crazy.
Oh.
And it was funny. That interview was funny because Steve was like, you're going to have to help me on this one because I don't understand anything about this music. I'm like, okay.
She was a damn good singer. She was like she had millions in record sales. Yeah. Lita Ford, do you know her?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She was back in the day singer. But
She was a 80s female country rock and roll star. Yeah. Her and
any regrets?
No. No, like I said, just hang in there and hopefully start feeling better.
So what do you think? What do you think that you have learned the most in the past 16 years doing this?
To really, just heed your advice. Just really pay more attention to your local officials. Yeah, it's cool to vote for president, and president's very important, obviously, and I'm very happy Trump won, obviously. But Trump is not going to have that major of an impact on your life. It's really not.
Yeah, you need to tell that to the Republican Party because they haven't won a senatorial seat since Dean Heller.
Right.
And I think it was it 14 or 12? 12.
12. Yeah.
They haven't won a congressional seat in Southern Nevada since Crescent Hardy in 14.
Right.
But yet they're giving themselves a victory dance.
Because
how Nevada is now red.
Right. Shit. Say that in Clark County. No.
I'm like, geez, what changed? The Congress is still the same.
Yeah.
The Senate is still the same. Come on, what changed? I mean, Trump got it. Yes, he could have got it without Nevada.
Oh yeah.
He could have got it without Nevada
And without Arizona too.
And you know what? His office is not in Carson City, or at the Grand Sawyer, or at the county building, or at anywhere local around here. His office is 3,000 miles away.
Yeah.
And
And
how
he's
about
got another 49 states that he represent without putting Nevada in there. So what did the GOP really want?
And how about the legislature? What did we get? 1 seat out of the Assembly and Senate?
Right. Well, the one thing that cracks me up is like is when people don't realize that like that's what's so cool about this country though is like, and hopefully God forbid this were to happen, but freaking missile could hit Washington D.C. right now. Those lights aren't going off.
That's true. But if something happens here in Nevada, like how they wanted to have Area 51 open, right, and have chemicals coming down the I-15, yeah, and God forbid one of those overturn, and we are all going to be affected.
Right.
Not Washington, D.C., because they're 3,000 miles away.
Yeah.
Right? So, well, there you have it. Do you have anything else for Mr. Jonas?
No, I was just going to tell everybody that our Christmas party is tomorrow.
Yes.
6 to 8 p.m.
Yes.
Jim Jonas will be there, so come say hi to him.
Or bye.
And bye. Hi and bye.
Or both.
To Jim.
Hi and bye.
And yeah. It'll be fun tomorrow.
Yeah. 1617 South Decatur at Noy Pitts.
Bar and Grill.
6 to 8 p.m.
The flyers all over our Facebook.
Yeah, it's all over Facebook and social media. I mean, if you don't know, is there something wrong with you?
I've made 100 of those flyers, it seems like. Yes. My goodness.
Jim, you have anything else you wanna say?
No, not really. Just
I want to say this. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you
for 16 years of fun in the sun. Although I've known you for 17 years.
Yeah.
But for 16 years of being on the show, and a weekly show at that, not a monthly show, weekly show, and all the memories. We got a lot of memories.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We could go on all night.
Yeah.
We'd be here till freaking midnight telling stories.
Yeah. So I want to thank you, Jim Jonas.
All right.
Well, you know what? Mark is going to zoom in on you.
It's your turn now.
and you have the final closing to say whatever comes to mind. If you want to give your point of contact, you can do that as well.
Tell the people what you're going to do for them.
Yeah.
You ready? Okay, well, first, I just wanted to try not to get too emotional because I'm a very emotional person. Thanks, Steve Sanson.
Sure. Okay.
And you got to understand how important this stuff is. These people that you elect control your lives. Pay attention.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, brother.
Awesome.
Thank you, brother. I don't want to get too close. Gotta get this mic going, but thank you. Ms. Phillips, thank you so much for being on. And folks, that's Jim Jonas. He has been on this program for 16 years. This is a weekly show. And we have so many memories. And we also like to thank all those guests, the hundreds of guests,
yeah, for sure,
that have came on this program to help make this program a success. The guests, the studio personnel, Mark Jonas over there, and the dozens of co-hosts, because we had extra co-hosts, the dozens of co-hosts that we have had to make this program a success. And although this program will celebrate its 20th year next year, because we've been on the air since 2005, but Jim has been with us on this program since 2008. Yep. So we want to thank everybody out there for watching, and Veterans in Politics Talk Show is going to keep on moving forward, and you're going to see a lot of changes in our program that you're probably really going to enjoy. And if you come to the Christmas party tomorrow at Noy Pit, 1617 South Decatur, between 6 and 8, we're going to announce some of those changes, and for you to know exactly where we're going to go and the new heights we're going to be taking this show. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas, Stephanie Phillips with Veterans in Politics. Until next time.